Vienna, where the EU's foreign policy chief Federica Mogherini and her Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif are giving a media conference on the big news of today. They're expected to make that announcement on the implementation of Iran's nuclear deal and what it means for sanctions against the country. Let's listen in now.
Just a second.
If I can ask for silence. Yes, thank you. Our friends, take a seat. Good evening, and as usual, thank you for your presence, your work, and your patience. Today, we have achieved implementation day of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Ever since adoption day, we worked hard and showed mutual commitment and collective will to finally bring the JCPOA to implementation. Today, almost exactly 6 months after finalization of the historic deal, the International Atomic Energy Agency has verified that Iran has implemented its nuclear-related commitments under the JCPOA. As Iran has fulfilled its commitments, today multilateral and national economic and financial sanctions related to Iran's nuclear program are lifted in accordance with the JCPOA. The EU and the E3+3 countries, consisting in People's Republic of China, the Republic of France, the Federal Republic of Germany, the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United States of America and Iran, will also cooperate in the field of peaceful uses of nuclear energy in the framework of the JCPOA. UN sanctions related to Iran's nuclear program are lifted. United Nations Security Council Resolution 2231 of 2015, which endorsed the JCPOA, will from now onwards, together with the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, be the sole international legal framework related to Iran's nuclear activities, terminating provisions of resolutions 1696 of 2006, 1737 of 2007, 1747 of 2007, 1803 of 2008, 1835 of 2008, 1929 of 2010, and 2224 of 2015. The European Union has confirmed that the legal framework providing for the lifting of its nuclear-related economic and financial sanctions is effective. The United States today is ceasing the application of its nuclear-related statutory sanctions on Iran, including terminating relevant executive orders and licensing of certain activities, as specified in the JCPOA. The European Union and the United States have issued relevant guidelines on the details of sanctions which have been lifted, thus facilitating international engagement in Iran's economic development. As foreseen, we will continue to thoroughly monitor and oversee the full and effective implementation of the JCPOA, exactly as agreed on 14th of July 2015, through the Joint Commission consisting of the E3+3 and Iran, and coordinated by the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. On its side, the IAEA is entrusted with the responsibility for the monitoring and verification of the JCPOA, as well as of Iran's hospitality, and all those countries that supported the negotiation process and helped to implement some of the commitments under the JCPOA. We also wish to express our appreciation to all those who led these negotiations on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the E3, EU+3 since 2003. All sides remain firmly convinced that this historic deal is both strong and fair, and that it meets the requirements of all. Its proper implementation will be a key contribution to improved regional and international peace, stability, and security. This achievement clearly demonstrates that with political will, perseverance,
and through multilateral diplomacy, we can solve the most difficult issues and find practical solutions that are effectively implemented. This is an encouraging and strong message that the international community must keep in mind in our efforts to make the world a safer place. I thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm going to do what I always do, to read in Persian exactly what she said in English. So don't worry about requiring translation. But before
Even if your English is better than mine.
But before I begin, let me thank you all for having waited several hours for both of us to come and appear before you, and apologize for having kept you waiting since probably some hours ago. Now I just read it in Persian. امروز ما به روز اجرای برنامه جامع اقدام مشترک یا برجام رسیدیم. از زمان روز تصویب ما مجدانه تلاش کردیم و تعهد مشترک و اراده جمعی خود را به نمایش گذاشتیم تا سرانجام موجبات اجرای برجام را فراهم کنیم. امروز 6 ماه پس از نهایی شدن آن توافق تاریخی، آژانس بین المللی انرژی اتمی تأیید کرد که ایران تعهدات هسته‌ای ذی‌ربط خود تحت برجام را اجرا نموده است. از آنجا که ایران به تعهدات خود عمل نموده است، امروز تحریم‌های مالی و اقتصادی ملی و چند جانبه مربوط به برنامه هسته‌ای ایران منطبق با برجام برداشته شد. اتحادیه اروپایی، کشورهای 5 به اضافه 1 مرکب از جمهوری خلق چین، جمهوری فرانسه، جمهوری فدرال آلمان، فدراسیون روسیه، بریتانیا و ایالات متحده آمریکا و ایران همچنین در زمینه استفاده‌های صلح‌آمیز از انرژی هسته‌ای در چارچوب برجام همکاری خواهند کرد. تحریم‌های سازمان ملل متحد مربوط به برنامه هسته‌ای ایران برداشته.
Okay, well, it seems that the UN doesn't have a Persian translator there on board at the moment. We were listening to Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif there speaking just after Federica Mogherini, the EU Foreign Policy Chief. In fact, he's just reiterating, as he said in Persian, what she said in English earlier before that, essentially stating that international sanctions against Iran, which have been in place for some 10 years, have now been lifted. And that comes with it a number of aspects, none least that it means that access to more than $50 billion in long frozen assets will be made liable to Iran, and freedom as well to sell oil and gas. A lot of issues around that as well to be discussed in the coming hours indeed about what all this means. We do know that Minister Javad there will be going back to speak in English later. We will try and get back to him when he does talk about that. Just to reiterate what was said there in the last hour or so, Iran has re-entered the global economy as years of crippling international sanctions were lifted in exchange, and this is the important part, for the verified disabling of much of its nuclear infrastructure. That, of course, comes as the removal of sanctions as President Obama begins his last year in office. That, as well as another issue we will be discussing now. The International Atomic Energy Agency says Iran, as we say, has complied with all its obligations under a nuclear deal which was carved out back in July last year. This means most of the sanctions against Iran between 2006 and 2010 are now effectively lifted. Well, under the deal, Iran had to cap its uranium enrichment at 3.67%. That's the numbers we have, and reduce its centrifuges by 2/3. It's still going to be permitted to operate over 5,000 of them. Iran also had to convert its Arak heavy water reactor. Now, the reason for that was to rule out the production of weapons-grade plutonium and reduce its enriched uranium stockpile from 10,000 kilograms, quite hefty, to 300 kilograms, and that will be in place for a period of 15 years.